Ah, Christmas. My favourite time of the year. We've been putting decorations up in the house and thought I'd make my office festive too. And with the weight of Jano's tragic loss still heavy on my mind, I thought I'd make a Rayman Christmas decoration. I find Rayman's sculptures really interesting. Since he has no limbs, trying to come up with a solution to have him standing and not a collection of body parts scattered on the ground, whilst also making it look natural as well as good, is quite challenging, but in a good way. It really makes you think of environment, pose, and composition in a totally different way. Flyos Games have been developing a Rayman board game over the past year, and they've created unique figures for Rayman, and I think they've done a really good job with the limitations of the character. However, some attempts at designs by other people in the past just look, well... So here's what I have in mind. Rayman's friend Glowbox, but he's made out of snow, so Snowbox. Ray's feet will be raised from the heels on the ground, whilst his torso will be leaning on the snowman. So floating torso, tick. I'll then have the head raised slightly above the torso, also attached. Floating head, tick. As for the hands, I thought of having his left hand resting on his side, or on a snowman branch, or scratching the back of his head. Whatever I think looks best at the time. And then to make the other hand not look awkward, I thought it might be funny to have Rayman biting into a carrot, which would attach his hand to his head through the carrot. There have been different variations of the character over the years, but I'll be going for my favourite design in the franchise, which is from Rayman 3. To start, I took some sheets of aluminium foil and scrunched them into the general bean-like shape that will be the gut of the glute. I then wanted to really emphasise his chops while still making it seem physically possible to do with real snow. At the end of the day, it's not real, so I can bend physics however I want. For Jano, I used Sculpt's air drying clay, mainly because I've used it before so I knew what to expect. However, we know how he's getting on these days, so I decided to take a plunge into polymer clays. Basically, they can be oven baked and will be much stronger than their air drying counterparts. This did result in me purchasing a tabletop oven, so if this clay stuff doesn't work out for me, at least I'll be able to make pizzas in my office. Polymer clay was a lot tougher to work with than initially anticipated. It took a lot of kneading and rolling just to be mouldable. I'm sure I'll get the hang of it, but it was not easy to begin with. I trimmed off some of the mouth because I thought it looked too exaggerated. That's the beauty of the Rayman characters though. They're all oddly proportioned and zany looking. It makes my sculpting look intentionally off. After setting Glowbox in the oven for half an hour, I got to work on Rayman, using an accurate tool to gauge sizing. I started with his shoes, which I thought were going to be more difficult to make than they actually were. I did decide to change the pose a bit with them though. I then moved on to his hoodie, which was the total opposite. It was a lot harder than I thought for just being a cylinder and a clay noodle. I ended up making 3 different torsos before I was finally happy with one of them. So it would be completely silly of me to paint the wrong torso later, wouldn't it? I then began his dreaded head and helicopter hair. It took some time, but I'm happy with how it turned out. I made sure to open up a mouth for the carrot to attach to. Lastly, all I had to make was said carrot and his hands, which were fairly simple to do. I cut 2 slits into a squished disc and prodded and rolled the sections until they looked like fingers. I added the thumbs onto the underside and blended everything together. I also inserted a thin piece of armature wire through the carrot for additional strength for the carrot when mounted. Finally, onto painting. I painted everything white to remove any inconsistencies and blemishes. Rayman has a very unique colour palette, so painting everything was quite fun. For his drawstrings, I took some actual string, burning away any frayed parts and painted it red. I then added clay to create those things at the end of the drawstrings and set them in the oven. Whilst they were cooking, I finally realised I painted the wrong torso. I pressed on with attaching a thick armature wire into glow box for the torso to be attached to, and painted the better torso. The drawstrings were then also connected with superglue. Lastly, I covered Glowbox in Mod Podge glue and sprinkled white flocking on top to give a more snowy texture. And I think that is everything done.
Rayman, could you turn up the heat?
An enormous thank you for making it to over 500 subs. Such a fantastic Christmas present to me, and I look forward to seeing you all in the new year. Take care everyone, and have a lovely Christmas.